Welcome to the Nerdist Podcast number 760. This episode is brought to you by Mozilla.org, the new Firefox. Fast for good. Mozilla builds products, technology, and programs that make the internet a little bit healthier of a place. Since using it helps Mozilla grow a healthier internet for everyone, you get to do good too and contribute. Learn more and download the new Firefox 2 times faster at Mozilla.org. This episode, what do we got? What's on the corkboard, Katie Levine?
Corkboard.
Corkboard, here comes
Everyone,
corkboard.
check out, you've been doing a great job of downloading Make Tech Human. I've appreciated that very
All
much
one word?
so. All one word, Make Tech Human. And if you are so inclined, I have a podcast. I'm not sure how many people actually know that this is a real thing, but Kevin Smith and I do a podcast about Frasier called Talk Salad and Scrambled Eggs. It's a real podcast. We have 16 or 17 episodes out right now. We're doing some live dates in December. December 5th at Pasadena Ice House.
Great.
December 28th, I believe, at the Brea Improv.
Great.
And December 31st, New Year's Eve, at the Melrose Improv.
Great.
Fun.
I want to plug two things, which is that Talking Dead is on an hour later for the next 2 episodes.
Why is that?
Into the Badlands just premiered.
Oh, okay.
It's the sort of the martial arts spectacular show, so it's for the next 2 weeks, and just for the next 2 weeks, Walking Dead, Into the Badlands, and then Talking Dead, and then when we come back for the next half of the season, we'll be on at our regular time. And also, my animation partner Shaddy and I have, through Puny Entertainment, have a show on Amazon Prime called Danger and Eggs. It's a kids show, I guess, for stoners too. It's kind of SpongeBob-y in that way, but if you go on and watch it and review it, and it's really good, A.D. Bryant's in it, it's really great, then there's an opportunity that we'll get to actually make more of them.
Loving the plugs.
So there we go. What do you got, Katie, on the corkboard?
I wanted to plug something that I actually saw in person. I like to hike at this place called in Placerita Canyon, and it's off the 14.
So far, your story checks out.
Yeah, but they at the Placerita Canyon Nature Center on December 5th and 6th, they're having a holiday craft fair, and you can decorate your own holiday wreaths, centerpieces, candles, ornaments using a large assortment of fresh-cut greenery, pine cones, and other beautiful natural treasures. It's a fundraising event for the Placerita Canyon Nature Center, and there's a charge for some of the activities, but it's pretty cheap, and it sounds like it will be a lot of fun, especially for any listeners with kids.
Excellent.
Yeah. And then you take the kids to that during the day, and then head over to Pasadena, the Ice House. See Kevin and I do talk salad and scrambled eggs about Frasier.
And just because she's in the room, Deb, say hi from the background. Hey. That's Deb.
Hey.
Deb books the people that come on the podcast. So if there's someone on the podcast, Deb has placed them there on the podcast. Thanks, Deb.
You're welcome.
This episode is Justin Theroux, who is promoting The Leftovers, which, if you saw last night, you probably have some comments or questions. This was recorded before the most recent episode. I won't say what, just in case you haven't seen it. I don't want to spoil anything, but if you watch The Leftovers and you wonder why we didn't talk about last night's episode, it's because we recorded this before last night's episode. But Justin Theroux is fucking rad, by the way. He was awesome.
He was a great guy,
so
really
funny.
Really funny, and
Very
co-wrote one of my
handsome.
favorite comedies,
Yeah.
Tropic Thunder, in addition to being a great actor. The Leftovers is
And Chris's favorite Iron Man movie, Iron Man 2.
Yep.
Sundays at 9 p.m. on HBO and HBO Go and HBO Now. HBO Now! HBO Go! HBO Now! Why I just like HBO? Well, no. Go.
HBO
now.
Stay? Not
HBO
yet.
Go. HBO Now. HBO Sit. HBO Rollover. All right, Justin Theroux's in the podcast. Here's Nerdist Podcast number 760 with Justin Theroux. Katie, HBO Now.
HBO Go.
Now entering Nerdist.com.
We were talking about night terrors.
You mean the
terrors.
concept of night terrors?
Yeah, no, I was talking about Dory has them, and I didn't know how crazy they were really until she finally, after a few months of dating, she sent me a link to an article she'd written for the New Yorker about them. I was like, oh, okay. Those are intense.
Is the origin of night terrors, are they more emotional, or is it more like sleep apnea and then you feel like you stop breathing and then you freak out?
No, it's not sleep apnea with her. I don't know what it is. Well, it's usually anxiety, I assume.
Probably got all cured when she married you, though, right? Everything was fine after that.
Haven't had one since.
There you go. You're the cure for night terrors.
Come on.
Do you have night terrors?
I don't have night.
No, but the dog. We're
Fortunately,
talking
I
about
don't.
his dog.
She knows she has night terrors, so she wakes up in the middle of the night.
She's well aware. I'm there to calm her down and tell her
It's more terrifying for you.
it's totally cool. Well, the second night we moved into our house, she got shot out of bed and said there are robbers here robbing us, and I was asleep. So when I woke up and heard that, I just sprung into action and was like, "You stay here," and I was gonna go.
Now, what kind of action? What were you going to do to robbers?
I grabbed my Surefire flashlight. It's real bright. Figured I could blind.
You're gonna beat them down with one of your left-handed guitars?
Blind them and then punch them.
You're gonna have to do this to
that was
her.
my
Punch a
plan.
robber?
Just put the flashlight in her face, make her really terrified.
But they're super bright, guys.
What I like to imagine is a classic Scooby-Doo chase montage where you're chasing the robber, then the robber's chasing you, then you come out of one room,
then
they go
Yakety
into
Sax
another room,
starts
then
playing.
Yakety Sax
Right.
starts playing.
Your living room goes by several times.
Several times in the background, they're recycling the background. You slap an old guy on the forehead, and then you guys
times.
go to bed laughing.
Great times.
Then you pull your wife's skin mask off. Old man Carruthers.
Are you?
It's you the whole time.
He would have gotten away with it, man. I mean, for those meddling kids.
know.
What the fuck was
Really
that?
got to get the mystery machine.
I need to tell you, and I'm so glad I can say this face to face. I think Tropic Thunder is probably one of the best comedies in the
Me too.
It was
a great
fucking... What if you now see you projected where I was going? You go, thanks. What if I was like,
that's
was one
so
of the
sweet.
worst movies? No, but what was interesting is I had the benefit of seeing Tropic Thunder in two completely different markets. I saw it in Los Angeles, and then I went and saw it with my family in Memphis, Tennessee.
Yeah.
And not Memphis, Egypt. And and what was interesting was that both audiences laughed in completely different places.
I think it's that thing of Hollywood is one of we're so kind of inundated. We all know what sort of with all the TMZs and the extras and the access. We all know kind of what the backside of the industry looks like. So I think both people, people in LA are laughing at one thing, people in the country are laughing at another thing because I guess the characters are identifiable as the action hero and the over serious guy and the party comedy guy, and so I think it plays in both demographics.
I assume people know that you co-wrote that movie.
Yes.
I didn't just bring it up. People
I don't
go,
know.
why are you talking? You weren't.
People usually don't writers' names usually go by the screen and then they go.
Oh,
away.
I saw Ben Stiller.
Yeah,
He wrote.
exactly.
Could you believe that?
The only thing about it, my dad thought that he thought the commercial at the beginning was a real commercial for the first few
Well,
I
minutes.
think a lot of
now,
people
so
started to.
It doesn't matter.
You don't get to make dead jokes.
Wait, I don't.
No.
I thought that was understood. That
No, it doesn't
I was
work
the one
that
would
way.
never die. My dad's gonna live forever.
Oh my God, poor Matt.
Do you hear me, God? It's like that famous.
If
Lord, don't take John Myra.
if Justin had seen the toast at your rehearsal dinner, he'd do John Myra toast.
Oh God.
Yeah, but there was a second where I was like, why would you think that was a real thing? And you just saw the guy in the movie.
I mean, we could, if we hit some sort of grain of truth or something in that commercial. I think a bunch of people thought the movies when those trailers first started playing.
Yeah.
They were into them until they obviously saw Ben's face or whoever, Robert.
Simple Jack. Love it.
Oh man, the gift
So much.
that really bit us in the ass. That one. A lot of trouble for old Simple Jack.
Loved it. I loved
We
it.
did. I did too. I still defend that.
Was there ever talk of a sequel to Tropic Thunder?
Not really. No, I don't think any serious. It's one of those things where it's like if you got an idea, we're willing to hear it. But it's such a kind of wonderful, self-contained thing, you know, that there's no real. It's kind of you just don't want to go back unless there's a really good idea. It's like anything. You don't want to just try and do something just because people liked it. You kind of some things are just meant to live once and forever, as opposed to.
Or if you're James Bond, you live 24 times.
20. Is it 24 now?
It's 24 now.
Good God.
And counting.
At least they're swapping out.
Did you see Spectre again?
Yeah, I saw it again.
Did you like it?
I loved it.
Oh, good.
I have a podcast.
Did you see it?
I haven't seen it yet.
You haven't seen it? I haven't seen it either.
No.
Well, you'll both enjoy it.
I'm looking forward
I'm
to
sure
it.
I will.
How do you divide your brain between the writer and the actor performer? I mean, what gets priority?
Nothing gets priority. It's usually a question of time and how much time writing obviously is, I think, harder and takes longer periods of time to execute. And in the end, it's sort of more satisfying when you can sit back after working on something for a year and a half, or even in Tropic Thunder's case, I think like 8 years, and finally watch something that you like, world you created. Acting, you're really more of like you're trying to be a piece in someone else's machine, which is equally fun, but and it takes longer time, shorter time commitments. So it's nice to sort of dip in and dip out, and then let someone else deal with the editing, the writing. I just love getting a script handed to me that's already been.
Hey, we already
bled
did this
over
for you.
and,
Just say these things. This is the instruction manual. Just go stand over there.
You go over there and make the faces.
Yeah,
and,
you're gonna be sad right here, and just go be sad and say that while you're sad.
Exactly.
All right, now go home.
I know. Now you go home.
Now go sit in your trailer. You got Wi-Fi. You can fuck around on the internet if you want.
You got Xbox One.
I mean, you really do have to love the process of writing, because you can spend 2 years writing something and then that didn't get made.
Yeah,
that was
I have a bunch of stuff sitting on shelves that are just lying around, and you kind of go, oh. But it's most movies, even small movies, when you write something that the budget could be $1 million or something, you're still asking someone to give you $1 million to do it. And with studio movies or bigger movies, you're asking someone to give you 40 to 80 million, whatever the budget is.
$275 million.
Lord of mercy.
They'll make it back.
Yeah.
They'll make it back a lot.
Speed.
Those Land Rover deals,
God damn it.
What
a fucking cash cow that thing is.
They were smart. They were product integration before we knew what that word was.
When did they start doing it?
They started doing that, with Rolex and Seiko back in the 70s.
Wow.
They sold Thunderballs. I don't know.
Not a real thing.
Goldfingers.
They sold those teeth that Richard Keel had.
Jaws
teeth.
They sold the cable too that he'd been into.
They sold Roger Moore. They just sold Roger Moore. He was a product integration. Yeah, he was a product integration for Britain.
Sir Roger Moore, thank you.
Sir, okay, no, you're right. I'm sorry. That was very disrespectful of me. I apologize. I apologize to Sir Roger Moore, who's definitely listening right now. Very offended.
God, he's calling. Our phones are blowing up.
He get all
calling us on all of our
Sherlock
cell phones.
All of our phones just went up.
Roger Moore has a Google alert for his name.
How old? He must be 90 by now.
88, something like that.
Does he appear much in public?
He still does work for UNICEF. He's
that's
out there.
nice.
He's out there. He lives in. I don't know why we're going to talk about Roger Moore for so long, but he lives in. Where's the Monte Carlo? He lives in some weird tax haven.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because of the British tax.
Of course,
system.
James Bond would live in Monte Carlo. Where else would he live? He's crashing boats all the time.
He lives. Speaking of Iron Man 2, he lives there.
Oh, really?
Where the race was.
Yeah. Right where the Grand Prix was.
Yeah.
Do you prefer to write for existing characters, especially with something like Iron Man? It's like, well, there's a universe.
There's a universe that you have to respect.
There's canon.
I don't know. It's usually about the person playing them or the voice that they have. Because I think, if anything, if I have a talent for anything, it's probably just mimicry or sort of trying to sing in the same key as someone. But I like creating characters, perhaps more. And then seeing who falls into them. Like Tropic Thunder was me and Ben just sort of going through and creating. There were so many characters that got cut that we could have written the movie within the movie forever. Like that.
What was the favorite character
fun.
of yours that got cut?
There was when we started doing it, Super Simple Jack. We basically created a platoon, because the joke in the initial phases that we were just sort of tossing around was, a war movie that's horribly miscast. And so we went and looked at all the war movies, and there is like a prototype there's like a guy who's like good with the walkie-talkies, and he's from Brooklyn, and his name is Books, and hey, Books, get us the thing, and then there's like the Southern guy who's a sharpshooter, or it's like, because he's been quail hunting his whole. There's like all these kinds of guys, and this guy's totally messed up, and he's older, and he's seen it, they've done it all, and then the fun part is just pairing that with prototype actors, which is like the douchey action guy or the super over serious actor who's won a bunch of Academy Awards, and we just were like, let's just get all these people to together and just sort of write to that, But I think we had a character named Dixie who was like a Southern I think he was a sniper, and I mean, again, you don't even see much of that movie in our movie, but those were sort of some of the characters. You know, we had a platoon of like I think 12, and then we were like, all right, we gotta get this down to 6 or something like that.
That reminds me of how the stories I heard about how they used to write Police Squad before Naked Gun, like the original Police Squad.
Yeah, yeah.
So that all those guys would just watch as many of the cop shows as possible.
Yeah.
And then just like make notes. So we gotta have that guy, we gotta have this, we gotta have this, we gotta have this, and it all just came out of that.
Well, we watched a lot of DVD extras. Like we'd watch the those EPKs, the sort of electronic press kits for the actors who were doing these war movies. So you'd get name a great war movie, and then you'd get the DVD, and then you'd watch the guys doing their interviews. And the seriousness with which they took it was, you're watching it with even 3 degrees steps to the left with a comedic eye. It's just so funny because they start talking about it like they actually went to war. They're like, look, we were obviously trying to make it as real as possible. We did a boot camp for 40 days. I'll never forget the first night, the director woke us up with firecrackers, we thought there was gunfire, like that kind of, and we just thought it was so funny. Like, and by the end of that film, we'd been to war, and you're like, no, you haven't. There was no jeopardy. Like, you did not get shot. Nothing happened to you. You were okay.
Soldiers don't have trailers to go into.
You might have been in the Philippines where the food was a little weird. The catering sucked, but it wasn't.
Chicken was dry.
Chicken was dry as a bone. But it was a lot. Watching those guys, and actors are sort of programmed to speak that way when they're playing. And it's you make fun of it, but they talk like that when they're in serious parts. It can get their heads can get further and further up their butt about stuff. And you're thinking, oh, it's just a movie at the end of the day. And we're glad they take it serious because they turn in good performances and all the rest of it, and they have to believe it, but. Same time,
but it's slightly too.
It's slightly, yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
One step too. One step.
Like, come on, guys.
At least they could preface it with. Now I know I didn't actually go to war, but
yes, exactly.
Now I know I'm not a real soldier, but
exactly.
This happened and this happened and this happened. Just some layer of awareness,
some little bit of awareness. But I think when you're in it and making those movies, you're trying to take it as seriously as possible. But it's a laugh riot.
I was reading about your family. Like literally, almost everyone in your family is some kind of an accomplished something or other.
A lot of them are. Yeah, there's a bunch of writers in my family. I wouldn't put myself on the same playing field as them. They write books and essay. They're very good writers. Which is I sort of
they're Theroux.
They're Theroux. Obviously,
I mean, come on.
I've given them so much to work with.
You're welcome.
You're welcome, Uncle. Exactly. Oh wait, they were born before me.
That's how that works.
Yeah, there's a bunch of good writers in my family. So they're and very good ones too.
Was it something that what did you set out to do?
Eat. I set out to not really do anything. I got out of college and I was like a double major, visual art drama, and I was kind of like, I just knew I wanted to be in New York, and I'm going to just do whatever, see what sticks in New York. So I was doing a little bit of those things, although you can't really sit at home and act. And then.
You can. It's just weird.
You can. It's awkward for whatever whoever you're dating at the time.
Hey, will you read my lines with me?
I would just go into monologue.
But again with the Indianapolis.
Exactly.
Jesus
what
Christ.
accent is this?
No setup at all.
Exactly. Just start doing dialogue from like Pinter.
12 Angry Men.
Exactly. And then I was doing some art stuff, and also of course doing construction and bar and working tables and things like that. And then auditioning, and then eventually one started to sort of take over more than the other one. And that was it.
But I mean, it is really hard to. It's hard to break in at the level at which you've broken in on both of those fronts. I mean, it's like,
difficult. Yeah,
it is very difficult to. I mean, you've written really big movies, and you've been in
But that, I think we all trip upstairs, and we all get really lucky on a lot of levels. And I've worked very hard too, but I don't pat myself. I'm definitely not self-made in that way. It required a lot of people, sort of reaching behind them and like helping me out, or recognize, or even giving me the time of day to sort of go like Ben was the first person who read my material and was like, "Wow, this is your dialogue is good," or or you're, this is, I like these characters. He was the first person I actually showed stuff to, and I was just fortunate that his show had just been canceled. Like the Ben Stiller show had just gone off the air.
Thank God.
It was the best show in the world.
I had stolen from MTV a highlight reel of just a bunch of the best sketches from that show, and I wore that tape out. I watched.
It was so for the time, and even now, it was so
A lot
funny.
of that holds up.
A lot of that holds up. I mean, it was fake trailers.
It was very far ahead of where comedy ended up going too. It's very self-referential and very meta and it's all that stuff that very pop culture aware in a way that comedy in the 80s hadn't really been up to that point.
Yeah, that's right. And it was on network for
Fox.
a minute. And you were like, on Fox, and you were like, oh my God, there's something slipped through that felt funny and genuine and real and contemporary. And
even the Melrose Heights sketches.
Melrose Heights were so...
Melrose
Bob
Heights
Odenkirk
902 as the robot.
I'm
as
not a robot.
Batteries.
That's right.
Not a robot.
Just because the
Vaughn
Swedish
is a
girl goes,
robot, yeah.
Vaughn is a robot, yeah. Hey guys, did you hear? Vaughn's a robot.
Vaughn's a robot. It was so...
And
or Manson. Odenkirk was just
Manson.
out of control.
You gotta walk it like you're talking. Timmy's in trouble.
Timmy's in trouble. You don't know Jack, man.
Kate Munster.
Kate Munster was like one of the all-time classics. And then Andy Dick had a whole bunch of amazing, weird, do you remember there was one Jacques Cousteau where he's drunk at and he's doing voiceover. He's like, "Zemenity is creature." I mean, it's just is so funny.
Fucking Ben Stiller's entitled restaurant old man.
Do it.
Come on. Case.
Do it.
Come on, say.
And Tattoo as well. Rest in
Lionel
peace.
Richie was stuck on you.
Yeah.
All right, coming in at number one.
Or baby Lachey.
And then Andy Dick did that weird Brent Forrester sketch where he was just a giant head. The Brent Forrester relaxation sketch.
Yeah.
And the head starts fighting a person.
Punching something on the... That's right.
God damn.
They were so good. And then TJ Opooter Toots.
TJ Opooter Toots.
Based on the Donner Party.
That's
Where it was basically like fun food based on cannibalism.
I know.
God
Those
damn
big
it.
handlebar mustaches.
I can't believe the memories come flooding back.
And there's only one season of it. There's only one,
13 or 14 episodes, right? And 3 of them didn't air.
Yeah.
I mean, at the time, because it was so... I understand in retrospect why, particularly at a time in the mid-'90s where this was the pre-niching of entertainment, where everything still had to appeal to everyone.
Yeah.
I can understand why a mainstream audience might be a little confused, because it does take one level. You have to drop down an irony level to understand what it is that they're doing and saying.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. I mean, I think, I mean, it's and then I think after that, I mean, not just right after that, but a while later, he went and did Heat Vision and Jack, which is one of those great.
So
I'm sure it's on YouTube somewhere, but I remember thinking, this is brilliant. This is one of the most.
Kazaa.
It's so freaking
God.
funny.
Yeah. Heat Vision and Jack.
Kazaa.
Owen Wilson was the
voice of the motorcycle.
He was a motorcycle,
Jack Black.
Jack Black was the smartest man on earth.
That was Harmon, right?
It was Harmon.
Yeah. Was it
Harmon and Schraub, I think.
Oh, maybe. Oh, I know it was Schraub, yeah.
Yeah, it was Harmon, because Harmon said that they
And Rob
purposely tried to write the worst thing they could think of because they wanted to get out of that deal. And so they came up with Heat Vision and Jack.
Which might have been the best thing they've ever written.
But I do think there's something... do you find that when you're trying to write something that's so meaningful and it's you get a little too precious, but then when you can just throw it all away and not...
I don't write anything meaningful. I mean, that's not really what I do. I wouldn't know where to begin. If someone was like, we need a great James L. Brooks script or something like that, I'd be like, I don't know,
to tell about this Iron Man.
Exactly. I got to get this out of me. Got so many feelings.
The mask he puts on.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes
he's a man who lives in iron. He's trapped, but yet he's the strongest.
It's a metaphor for all of us.
Is the suit a prison for him, or is
It's a metaphor
for the
Billy Joel album "Strangers."
Exactly.
It's the uncovered secret of the Iron Man 2. This is legitimately... If this doesn't appear on Deadline, I'm going to be very disappointed. The undercurrent of Iron Man 2.
I see Iron Man 2 clips all the time in Vegas because that's the slot. That's what the slot machine is based on. Is Iron Man 2?
That's so funny.
Really?
Well, I'm sure we had to write a bunch of slot machines into the movie. It's our crossword motion. Exactly. Listen, we're going after the gambling market.
Jarvis, hack those slot machines.
Jarvis shows up.
We
in
need
the slot
some money.
Machine. It's great.
Does he really?
It used to be
Jarvis, you there, buddy?
I wonder if pinball machines were it used to be. Remember pinball machines always were like movie themed?
There are some great ones,
Kiss
like
themed, or whatever,
the Kiss
like,
one or the Star Trek ones, or the Star Trek ones are great.
Yeah.
Great pinball. The Addams Family one's fantastic too. Like
one of the best ones ever
the
made.
Raul Julia Addams Family.
Oh, I remember that one. Yeah,
was really, really fantastic.
Star Trek TNG one is great. That one they recorded dialogue for. All of them.
Really?
All
There was at
7.
one point where pinball machines went next level and just started like
I think it was
being
1992.
like literally next level. They would have like 2 levels. The ball would go up and around.
I mean, you and I are exactly the same age. So you and I,
You're 35?
34. 34. I'm sorry.
So we're a year
so
apart.
You're older.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys, coming up May, right?
But so you were present for the whole the pinball / ultimately video game revolution.
Oh yeah, sure.
Were you into that when you were?
I was. Yeah, I wasted a lot of money in drugstores, dumping quarters into Asteroids, Phoenix, all that crap.
You said on drugs.
On drugs. No, in drugstores. Yeah, where you buy drugs. Like
I was
the
in
little
arcade stores
bodegas in
buying
New York where
drugs.
Interesting story. I invented syrup.
Exactly. I don't know. You're at the store. Nyquil's looking you in the eye.
Purple drink. I was like,
I drink all of it. Come on.
I've followed video games everywhere they went, from
Where'd you
Sega
grow up?
Systems, DC, Washington,
You grew up in DC.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
And then whatever. We all know the games like Sega, Nintendo, blah blah. And then I remember when I first saw PlayStation, I was like, "What's happening?" Like, and then that got thing, and then online, and then I started going online, and then I started to age out. But I'm still playing. But
what are you playing?
I play Call of Duty a lot. Like I that's the game that I play all. I can kill literally weeks on end. I don't anymore.
What's your technique?
I thought you were going to say, what's your gamer tag?
I was about to say, like, I'm not going to get my gamer tag out on air.
I was going to say my gamer tag on the thing, but
Don't
it's
say it.
foolishly very close to. Anyway, people have figured it out.
James Bond.
And
Spectre.
One night, I tweeted a picture because I had like ranked on Arkham Asylum like 305th in the world on this challenge map, and I was like, fuck yeah, and I Instagrammed it, and then turned off my fucking PlayStation, booted up the PS4. I had 1,100 friend requests.
That's awesome.
Oh my god.
What's that?
Why?
I don't talk to my friends on that. I'm not going to talk
11,000 friends to play with it any day, any time of day. That would be amazing.
What was the first when I loved it. This is my favorite question to ask people. When you first started getting like when you first got like a chunk of money, what was the first?
Paid people back. Seriously,
Oh, really?
I paid a lot of people back. But the first like purchase I made?
Yeah, like what was the first thing you're like? Someday when I make a lot of money, I'm gonna buy a balloon
I remember
car.
the first time like I got a balloon car.
It's a car made out of balloons.
Balloons, and you could crash it all day long.
Everyone's fine.
It
car
was
is an airbag.
I just,
This is a really good idea. Wait a minute, this is a really good idea.
Turn the mics off. Let's brainstorm this. It was I don't remember what I bought. I just remember the first time I got a check that was like not something that I was going to have to immediately hand over to a landlord or a grocery store. I just remember that feeling of walking down the street, looking in shops in New York, going like, I could get that. I could get that. Like seeing a bike in a window and being like, I could get that. Like. And it wasn't a huge check, granted, but it was like I could buy something. I could buy whatever I want, or I could eat whatever I want. I can go to a restaurant, have the biggest meal. That was like a big one. Like
That filled the hole, right?
yeah, exactly.
All that knowledge fills the hole.
And now I'm completely happy and self-realized and fulfilled. Now that I have money, it's like my life is fantastic and I'm totally sane. Just saw my shrink for the last time, and he was like,
off the podcast right now. Was like, see, I fucking told you, I need money.
It was the only thing.
"What
The
are
only
you guys
thing.
happy?"
The hole was money shaped the whole time. It was shaped like those little bags, those little sacks with the dollar signs.
They throw their phone out. I don't need this anymore. I know the secret to life.
Exactly. I'm gonna smash my. Whatever.
It is weird. I mean, it's to talk to you and to see that you are very much a comedy guy. Like even though you're in drama, like I know you're as an actor.
I'm a
you
drama
do both.
guy.
But you really like your heart seems to be like a comedy. Like you're
That's
a
what
comedy guy.
I like to write. I mean, but acting, I like to do both. I don't subscribe to that thing of like you have to, you're either doing. I mean, look at like Odenkirk. He does like, incredible dramatic work. He's also one of the funniest fuckers on the planet. But I think it's people should hopefully be able to do both if you're trained or you're whatever, not even trained. If you should want to be able to sort of. Otherwise, I think you'd get bored. Like.
But as a comedy guy, is all the tabloid stuff weird? Like, can you just not like even wrap your fucking brain around it?
Yeah, there is something, because I think in comedy you obviously are looking for things to poke holes in, and I'm sure there's been many times where I've been walking by the kiosk and going like, hey, or laughing at the jerk on the thing, and then you're like, oh yeah, I'm the jerk on the. Now I'm the jerk. It's not so funny.
I bet that guy has feelings. I bet he's a real person.
You know what? That guy is going through a lot right now. Exactly.
That picture
show just ended.
He wasn't
he's scratching his eye.
Bill Cosby ain't all bad.
Oh no!
Well, hang on. Thank God, that's not my tablet. Don't put me in that.
But Leftovers is a rad show too, because I know Damon Lindelof really well, and he's he's a really great guy.
Yeah.
And is it? I mean, do you like more genre stuff, or does it not matter to you? Is it just like anything that seems challenging?
Anything that's challenging, anything that makes you kind of go like, "Ooh, that's scary," or that you feel like you're sort of walking a plank on something, always feels kind of fun. But Leftovers doesn't feel. I know it's technically sci-fi, I guess,
right?
But there's not much sci in it. There's not much.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot. To me, it feels like an emotional, existential family drama or something like that. I mean, I don't know how to. You can't really sum it up in a.
Family Fi. Family Fiction Fi.
E5. Emo 5. It's literally like...
Guys, let's jump on these domain names now.
I know.
Along with Balloon Car.
Exactly.
I'm registering all these. Should I get the .tv and the .biz?
Yes, of course.
Exactly.
Okay, good.
Don't forget .pizza.
Pizza.
You can do that now.
Yeah, you can.
Oh, my God.
Dang it. It's so crazy.
But he seems like his shows, like, or the way his brain works, I could never write what he does. I can't do what he does. Like, I look at the scripts and they're a fucking magic trick to me, and I'm just like, I don't know how he did that. Like, I mean, this is really good writing, and this is really, powerful. There's a lot of powerful stuff that happens in it. So it's really nice to just, again, get handed it and just go like, all right, now you just go make a face and get in front of the camera.
Make a face exactly on this mark.
On this mark. And cry now.
We weren't rolling. I just want to see you cry.
Exactly. I just want to see you cry. Oh, Damon likes to see me cry. But yeah, and he in a weird way goes through all the torture of writing it, and then I get to just play it, and that's really fun.
Damon also very smartly quit Twitter, which is, I think, important.
Not everyone should quit Twitter, but I'm saying like
you're not on social media.
I
No,
don't do social media.
No,
You're smart.
Well, I don't.
You're not going to give away your gamer tag.
I know
on
people
Instagram.
where they treat it like it's a full-time job, and I'm like, I have something.
Ugh.
Yeah, I think it was smart that he quit Twitter.
Yeah.
It's like reading reviews. You know what I mean? And at a certain point, you have to remember, like, whatever you're making or whatever you're creating or whatever you're putting out in the world, it's not a democracy. People will vote with whether they watch or not watch or whatever, and you can look at the data. But I think if you get hung up in sort of checking in on yourself, it can be a really soul crushing. Yeah.
Oh boy.
No. What is it? Just send it to me. It's that thing of it can be soul crushing if you're just letting so many voices get at you. I don't understand why.
And it is. I think it is impossible. Well, I think it's impossible for almost any human being to not be affected by it. But I think in particular performers, because performers by nature are sensitive, because you are, any artist is sensitive because you kind of soak up the world and re-express it, and that's an innate sensitivity. And so, if people are shitty and people are like,
and they get real shitty, and it's usually anonymous. I mean, that's just not. I don't know. I wish people would put their names on, because it's like, you just.
Hey, Craig, it's Justin Theroux.
Exactly.
Just calling to say fuck yourself.
Fuck yourself, motherfucker. Thought your shit sucked this week. Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's it's hard not to be affected by stuff, and if you don't have to do it, I completely understand. I mean, I don't, for me, it is a lot of the work that I do is based around it, but I really do like connecting. I mean, I do like.
It makes sense. I know it's absolutely worth connecting with fans. I think, or not, or even critics, obviously. But I think I have enough friends and family members that I can connect with them, get honest opinions and things like that. I'm not going to give some 60-year-old woman in the Midwest, like a vote on whether she really liked this or hated that or thought this joke went too far, or and it happens anyway, but it's whether you're going to.
But you don't have to hear about it.
I don't have to hear this quack in my ear.
Yeah, right. I don't think when I think about South Park, I think South Park essentially delightfully violates everything that is.
I know they're like the last bastion of people who are just
kind of doing whatever they want.
This Wednesday, police violence they're taking on.
Yeah,
I mean, and the show in 19 seasons is still fucking amazing.
Yeah, it gets better,
but they just
gets better. It's fucking crazy.
I just don't give a fuck. You see it in comedy in particular. This sort of politically correct swing that happens, and only saying words by their first letter, and things like that, and it's discouraging because you think, well, or I've always believed, if there's a word you don't want to say, let it be ugly in the right context. If there's a word that is a sensitive word, or a joke that might go too far. If it's interesting, I just got to meet Mel Brooks for the first time. We were talking about political correctness, and he was like, you just have to make sure the joke is aimed at the right person, and you can say whatever the fuck you want, I don't know if he said fuck. He said the F word. Sorry, the F word.
He said, make it whatever the fuck you want, you little pussy. Wait, what? And then he beat the shit out of me.
He beat the shit out of me. Surprising. But it's that thing, where you want people to laugh, as long as the joke is aimed at the right place and it's not a cruel joke just for the sake of being cruel.
I saw him, there was a picture of Mel Brooks very recently. It might have been getting a star on the Walk of Fame or something like that. Some event where he just did the Hitler, put the finger up at the mustache and did the Heil Hitler thing, and you just look at it and you go, "Oh, Mel Brooks."
Mel. I know, totally.
It's you're the best.
But if Kourtney Kardashian did it, it'd be like, "Oh
gosh,
yeah." But
Mel, you've earned it.
I don't know if I ever see that happening.
I don't think that's going to happen.
That's exactly. I don't know if that's going to happen.
That's the beauty of Mel Brooks, though.
Mel can do anything. I think Mel can do no wrong. Mel's amazing, and the fact that he's still working, after 60 years of, it's so inspiring.
Yeah.
Do you ever worry that you're like, oh, I don't know, maybe I got like 10 good working years left, and then I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I just I don't think too much. I'm like a dog. I don't really think too far into the future. I'm just like, if I'm walking down the street, I'm walking down the street right now. This will never end. No, I don't think too far in the future, because then I start to stress out, or at least definitely.
You seem good at avoiding situations that other people get absorbed into that create stress. Like worrying about worrying about 10 years from now, or worrying about social media, or worrying about, it sounds like you actively cut out the stressors.
I know that I'm high strung enough that if I don't do that, I'll do myself a big disservice, and I'll start getting too in my head, about, if I was writing something and reading in real time how people were reacting to it, I would never sit down at my desk again. I would get really petrified of because those voices stick. You can say I just read it, I don't really care, it doesn't matter that much. But I've scrolled to the comment section a couple times before, and I still remember them. It's like, I'm not doing that again.
It's like opening the Ark of the Covenant.
Yeah, exactly.
Give your eyes,
your face just melting.
That's beautiful.
Exactly. So exactly. So I just don't do it. And I'm happier as a result. Usually. Are
you watching anything like right now that you like?
Not really. I don't know. I always feel like I should be watching more stuff, but there's so much out there now to watch. And every second friend is saying, like, you got to download 4 seasons of it, and you're just like, oh boy, I can't.
Go play Call of Duty.
Exactly. I need to relax.
I'm just gonna respawn
5 million times. Yeah. So I can't. I'm trying to think what I watch for real. It's going to sound like I watch the news a lot, but I do.
Don't do that. That's the most stressful.
Go fuck yourself, news boy.
That's the most stressful.
I'm really into a lot of PBS documentaries right now, and I'm like reading a lot of books. Like I'm crazy for books right now. No, I watch some garbage TV, some a little of both.
Sure.
Nothing like I'm not going to be able to go on about any one particular show.
It is stressful of how much stuff there is to consume.
Yeah,
that it feels like, oh my god, if I don't watch this, I'm not going to be part of this conversation that everyone's having. And then I don't know what to...
But I also find those conversations, even when I have watched it, incredibly boring. Sitting there recounting a thing that happened better the night before when you saw it. And I go like, it's cool. You go, hey, did you see the thing? Yeah, it's really cool. Oh, I love this part. I love that part too. That was really cool. And if someone hasn't watched it at the dinner table, like it just bores the pants off people. Or they feel obliged to start telling you what the show's about. And it's like, well, don't paraphrase, what a great show. It's like, I don't know if you're paraphrasing some great movie. It's like, oh, you haven't seen Citizen Kane?
I think The Leftovers
but it opens up on this sled. And you don't really know why the sled's there. And you're like, oh, God.
It's really about leftovers when you think about it. Like everyone there
I just
is
draw
like,
everything back to my own show. I missed the second last
God damn
season
it, Justin.
of,
I am tired of having dinner with you.
Exactly.
we haven't
It's a lot
Citizen
like The
Kane.
Leftovers.
Xanadu. What?
Oh, that was a great movie.
Sure.
Olivia Newton-John. That
Come
Yeah.
on.
It wasn't a great movie. It was a...
Actually, no.
It was a
really
that was a movie.
That was a movie.
That was a thing
Now
where a
that
bunch
What
of,
happened?
Now, this was a movie, guys.
that was a thing where a bunch of people got together.
They
and
showed you
Let's make a pact to wherever we go, we bring up Xanadu and we demand
from now on.
super nerds.
24 pictures every second.
Gene Kelly's last movie. Was it his last movie?
Yes, sure was.
It was his last movie. So your social assignment for the next week is to bring up Xanadu in as many conversations
as possible. But bring it up like you're talking about Breaking Bad. Like, just be like, no, you guys, you've missed it. Like the whole thing, like the last scene is just. There's nothing better.
Yeah, it's all about. It's very political. The movie's very political. It's all about invasion.
There's a subsurface. You can almost watch it on any level. It's like three-dimensional chess.
I love that when Xanadu throws that pizza up on the Xanadu.
When Xanadu's being chased in the underwear by the. Xanadu's not a person in the movie.
Nope.
Have you seen the movie Xanadu?
I've never seen Breaking Bad or Xanadu.
You haven't seen Breaking
I am
Bad?
beautifully well versed in all things I can reference socially by knowing the key points of them and making jokes about them. And then everyone thinks I watch everything. I've never seen Walking Dead. I've never watched Xanadu.
I've never seen Walking Dead either.
That would be amazing.
You guys. All right, everyone turn up your radios and your computers. Guys, I'm about to talk to you about Walking Dead. No, I won't.
Yeah, every week I just pretend.
That would be fantastic.
I just go.
If I were you, and this is why I'm not you, I would be like, could you just like tell me what the episode's about?
Exactly.
And then I would just go bullshit.
I would never do that.
I know you wouldn't, but I'm just saying I would, and that's why
I have a
I'm not
code,
working
Matt. Take my work seriously.
You have the after show code.
I'm the after show
You took
code.
the oath.
It's like I've been to war. No, I don't think.
But how much do you consume? How much of your week is spent consuming new shows?
Because you're generating
Old shows.
5 new shows a week.
It's I get a little bit. I get a couple hours at night when I go home, and my fiance and I will just watch something.
You rub one out together.
Yeah, we rub one out together.
The Leftovers, and we're back on topic. The worst jerk-off show ever.
Yeah, those people disappeared. Yeah.
Usually I can do this in like 3 minutes.
This took 56.
It took like a full hour, and then I still needed a break.
I just met that guy. I thought this would be weirder, but for some reason it makes it easier. It's so strange. Yeah, no, we try to cram, we cram something in. God damn it, we watch a thing anally. No, we
watch a thing.
You watch a thing. You're watching with the wrong eye.
We tuck into bed, really get the sheets perfect.
we like at night for like an hour or two before we go to sleep. We'll watch we're watching a thing that was a British show that was pulled onto A&E called The Enfield Haunting right now. Just a 3-part British miniseries about a haunting based on real events.
3 parts. Good luck.
Real events. So we'll cram. But when it comes up against like, oh hey, let's just start The Wire. Like we don't really start
where I start to go out of my. I did it with Damon actually when I first got the job. I was not a Lost fan, and
sure.
I remember being like, and I was like, yeah, I should probably watch some of this. What's all the hubbub? And I literally started watching it at home with my wife and putting it up on the thing, and we got like 5 in, and we're like, wow, this is a really intense show. And then I was like, how many of these are there? And there was like 200, and I was like, oh no, fuck.
There's
this.
like 7
this
seasons.
Is a full-time job. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna.
Just watch the season opener, season finale of every season. You're fine.
Yeah, kind of.
I honestly think you
First
could
paragraph, last
watch
paragraph.
you could do first, last, and like a one in between.
Yeah,
you could do first. Last,
I actually kind of did that. I tried to skip around a little bit, and then I was like, oh, I'm super lost. I don't know.
That's exactly what he wanted.
You could have watched.
You get lost.
You can just watch enough episodes to be like, yeah, what was going on with where you can.
And then you're wondering what story was The Leftovers. I'm sorry. pour those for.
Back to pizza.
Would you want to write television ever? Would you want to?
I would like to write although I see how tortured Damon gets by it. I would want to write. I have a couple ideas actually that I am working on. But I like that short format. I think I'd love to do like a sort of a True Detective style format, but a contained comedy thing. Like
sure.
So like an 8 episode of something. It's just it's got a beginning, middle, and an end, and then if it makes sense to do another one. Because the thing that I think, not Damon, but any TV people who really produce long running shows, I think they must get exhausted and then they start farming it out and they can't really keep their fingers on it in the same way, and it eventually gets kind of, I think, a little mealy. And
well, I think the biggest challenge with the long running series, the sort of good news, bad news of getting
is what you're gonna do with all that money.
I mean,
Exactly.
nothing, because you're going to be fucking working the entire time. You will not have a minute to spend any
That's
of
like
it.
people who do like 22 episodes a year. You're just like, oh my god, yeah, you're taking like a ton of money, but oh my god, you pay for it with time.
Because I think you have to have. I think the challenge is you have to have a clear enough vision to sort of understand, like, okay, this is what I want the show to ultimately do. But because you're a human being, you're going to grow and change and evolve.
Yeah.
And, what if by season 3 you're like, oh my God, I don't think any of that shit anymore. Now I got to figure out how to get out of this.
Well, I think it's I know myself well enough to know that I'm not, or I would never be able to pay that much attention to one topic for an extended period of time. I mean, I do it in my own kind of right. Like, by the time I'm done with a movie or something, I'm done. I don't want to revisit that.
That's
I don't
why
want
your
to go
True
back
Detective
to it.
format's great for you.
I know it would
think
be.
That's good.
Just a real quick in and out.
A big star-studded comedy,
Something
all-star.
that you could just kind of something you could wrap your arms around. Sort of even writing 10 episodes of something, I think must just be a bear. Like, just to think, oh my god, I got it for hour long for sure.
I just outlined. I was going to outline 12 episodes of a show that we're pitching, and in the pitch document, like, the producers were like, "Yeah, just outline the season," and I was like, "All right." And then I got into it, and then I just started doing the outline, and then by 8, I was like, "That's it." And then I went to the top of the document and went 8 episodes.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You think, like, yeah, I've said everything I need to say, basically. Yeah, it's true.
I mean, I honestly, I don't know. I mean, having to write. I mean, Vince Gilligan did an amazing job, but he kind of had a pretty.
I think I mean, the thing is, I think, and I don't. I'm literally, this is totally armchairing it. I don't know what it's like to be in a writer's room for 6 years writing
Monday
a
Morning
show or
QB,
something
go
like
for
that.
it.
But I think a lot of these guys have to write, into the darkness. They don't know where the hell something's going to go, and I think they have to get re-inspired by their next season or their next whatever, or new characters, or something that has to shift in them. If I was writing some sort of cop procedural or something, I would just want to kill. Just like, oh my god, that would be the worst. To me, the worst gig ever, because a lot of those networks, they're like, just don't leave the precinct. Just keep it in the precinct. We want to build these sets and just dust them off once a year. And I think that would be mind numbing.
I think that's just I think that's a different type of. That's where you're like, I just want to go in and just refill just slightly change a thing each week, but everything's basically the same.
Entire first season of Cheers, they never left the bar.
They don't leave the bar that often for the rest of the series. I mean, occasionally they'll go to like Sam's
they do.
apartment.
Well, eventually they went to Frasier's house.
That's right.
Oh my God! Did you just find a fellow Cheers Frasier fan?
Oh my god, I used to love Frasier.
I love Frasier.
I do too.
Kevin Smith and I do a podcast about Frasier. I'm not kidding.
Are you serious?
It's called Talk Salad and Scrambled Eggs. Yeah.
We provide
See what
audio
you're missing?
commentary
Oh my
no one
God.
asked for.
See what you're missing?
Frasier.
Why did you guys cancel the Tampa show?
We had to reschedule because Kevin's mother was not going to be in Tampa at the time. She was going northeast to see her
Got it.
family. So we're rescheduling the Tampa show, but we're doing
Boston,
we're doing
Cheers
Pasadena
set.
December 5th, Brea Improv on December 28th, and we'll be at the Melrose Improv New Year's Eve, December 31st.
With special guest Justin Theroux.
Oh, wait.
Biggest Frasier.
Biggest Frasier fan in the world.
Biggest Frasier fan in the world.
What about a? Oh my God! Netflix would jizz all over themselves if you guys would do a Tropic Thunder miniseries.
It would be great. I mean, if anyone has an idea, you can hit me on Insta.
Don't ever say that again.
How do they hit you on Insta? Just a comment. In the,
that's not how it works.
you can comment in the thread.
Yeah, just like throw it up there somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to. I mean, I'd love to do something just funny.
Do you have stuff that you're?
I have some stuff that obviously you don't want to talk about because it's boring to talk about stuff that doesn't exist yet. But when it does exist, I'll come back. Talk about it.
Did you find that after people started to, like, tabloids started to take things out of context or use it, do you find yourself more careful? Do you find yourself more aware in public or more aware of what you say?
For sure, yeah. Because you can just, they twist things all the time, like either with a photo or whatever, they'll just, there's a wacky couple out there named Jen and Justin, and they write about them all day long, and there's nothing to do with what I do or anything.
I always liken it to if someone said, "Hey, would you guys want to be on a reality show?" and you were like, "Nope." And the tabloids are like, well, we're going to do it anyway.
Yeah, forget about it. Whether you like it or not, it's happening.
Yeah, they're stuck in a room. They got to figure out what's right.
Like zero residuals.
So it's literally the worst of the worst.
We did the worst deal on this one.
So here's the thing. You're going to get paid nothing. And we're going to talk about
it's
you.
humiliating.
And it's not,
hate it.
None of it's going to be true.
And you have to drive yourself.
Exactly. It's a self-drive. Exactly. And there's no catering. It is that thing. I've always equated to it. It's like popping out an avatar who is the most insane person on the planet, who's constantly like storming in and out of places and crying in drugstores and it's just this most crazy person you could possibly invent, and there you.
Well, it's kind of like
if someone should actually do this, like chart, you could do it with anyone, sort of it would just be like this and then have them diagnosed. Bring all the stories to like a doctor, like a shrink or something, and be like, what is it? They'd be like, this person is borderline personality, schizophrenic, bipolar, and they,
Oh, that's so interesting. Well, yeah, because it is one of the things that I enjoy about doing the podcast is that I think it helps show general public that people like yourself are not just one-dimensional creatures.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, the guy's a person with feelings
and flesh,
thoughts,
and blood,
and
his own aspirations. Yeah, it's. I think people, what's always shocking to me is that people, and it's not that they believe it, maybe, because I think that everyone looks at them and goes, oh, well, this is such bullshit, but I am definitely going to read this cover to cover. And I was just actually on an airplane, and it's always actually
slow down, fancy rich boy. You were on an airplane.
One of those flying machines
in the air, just in
ox cart, not good enough for you.
Metal tube just going through the atmosphere like you do. And it's always stewardesses who are always like, be good to her, or something like that. And you're like, I don't even know you, dude. Like, what are you saying shit like this to me for? Like,
don't you break her heart?
Exactly. What are you talking about?
You don't know either of us.
I was just on a plane, and literally, like, there was some stewardess sitting at the front, and I went up to go to the bathroom, and she, like, literally had a magazine open to something about, and she put it under her so quick, like she was looking at porn or something. She was just like, oh, hey, hey. And I was like, hey, what's going on?
Do you want to fuck with people who are like, you reading about me?
You're reading about
me? About that?
You like that magazine? It's good, right? Real good.
It's just so strange.
They write it like Ron Howard comes up with movies. You know how he does movies based on a picture? Like he sees a picture in a photography book and he goes, I'm going to do a movie about that.
Yeah. It's just idea boards.
Yeah, exactly. Image boards.
How do they get away with it, though? Like, do they just assume, like, well, some of the time we're going to get sued, and then we have lawyers in place for that, and we have money set aside. It's like,
I don't know.
How do you just make up stuff about?
Well, the First Amendment in this country is extremely strong.
But there's a difference between an opinion and saying this thing happened.
Well, they I guess they have lawyers that skate this thing, and they know how to sort of, what it is? It's actually it's a source.
Yeah, that's
exactly how they
even if the source was like
the source could be someone who
hey, just make up a thing so I can say you're a source.
Literally.
Source could be
that is a source. That's technically a source.
Yeah.
So they go like,
so and
so
said
anything. So a source said, and then you send to the lawyer after them, and you go like, who's the source? And they're like, we don't have to reveal our source. Like they're fucking the Washington Post.
We're the fourth estate, bitch.
Yeah, exactly. Like. They're like Woodward and Bernstein or some shit.
And it is kind of funny because I think some people go like, oh, well, if you didn't want this, you shouldn't have gotten into it. I don't know if that was part of the deal when I was just trying to make things.
Well, also, it's like it's only, I'm always like, well, listen, why when John Updike was alive, weren't they chasing him down the street with a million photographers? It's like
He was boring.
He was boring. He's an author. So it's like it's only his
face was weird.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that white-haired jerk.
I've never seen Stephen King on the cover of In Touch or just doesn't, and he's arguably one of the most famous people in the world.
Stephen King's holiday recipes.
Holiday recipes.
I'd read that. I want to know.
Stephen King's holiday ends in tears.
I've got some spooky snacks for this Halloween.
And for Christmas, too. Bangor, Maine. Yeah, I mean, I guess...
Bangor, Maine. I don't know why that's funny.
Is it Bangor?
Yeah, it's Bangor. Yeah, Bangor, Maine. You said it fine.
I'll
but
take
just
Bang.
the idea that Stephen King would punctuate all of his sentences by saying Bangor, Maine made me laugh.
Oh, that's what he would do.
You made me laugh. I'm sorry.
That's what he would do. No,
you
please don't apologize.
stupid comedian.
I
You
know.
made me laugh. Go to hell.
I know, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Why'd you laugh? Why'd
It'll
you
never
laugh?
happen again. It'll never happen again.
You're right. I'm not laughing at anything.
Did you ever try stand-up? Was that
No,
thing?
God, no. That's a whole other like. It takes me a long time to construct a joke, let alone tell it. So, like, I think it's the most terrifying job in the world. It's like I would never want to do. I mean, it's just horrifying.
But it's a hoot.
It's a hoot if you're good at it, I would imagine. But if you're not,
No,
good
I'm not
at
very good at it.
I stuck at it.
I seem to recall, I think in 1991, I don't know why I'm telling you this, because
getting
there's,
in the
there's
Wayback
nothing
Machine.
that you can say. I mean, like, there's no response really for this, but in 1991, a friend of mine was on a show with your wife, a sketch comedy show on Fox.
Yeah, called
The Edge.
Yeah.
It was Julie Brown.
Yeah.
Red-haired Julie Brown.
Yep.
Not downtown Julie Brown, who it turns out did not get a comedy show on Fox.
Thankfully.
Yeah, my friend Rick Overton was on, and it was like there was an ensemble. It was a sketch when people were still making sketch comedy shows.
Yeah.
And she was super fucking funny.
Yeah, she's a funny fucking
like
lady.
sketch comedy funny.
Yeah, she's properly funny. Like just as a person, like she has a good sense of humor.
It was funny over 10 years of a giant program.
Which one?
Frasier.
Oh,
I'm sorry, 11
played
years.
Roz.
11
She
years.
played the character of Roz.
oh my God, she's awesome.
No, but
a chameleon.
But I think being funny on a sitcom doesn't always mean that you are going to be funny, like in a sketch comedy situation or like in other types of comedy situations.
True, but I mean, she developed her chops. I think on a bunch of shows. She was on a couple pilots and failed. So she had sort of cut her teeth on a bunch of other stuff. Isn't
it amazing how long you can go in this business and then all of a sudden something pops and people are like, rising star, and you're like,
yeah, exactly.
I was like 10 years. I was about to give up.
Totally. I think actually just the stand-up comedy. You see it a lot. Like there's a lot of stand-up comedians that go to do sitcoms and they fail miserably at it because they can't get out of their own patter, or they can't, or they're great at stand-up, but they're not great at I think is playing the character that they are saying they're going to play.
I think part of that has to do with being a stand-up is not being really a team player.
Yeah.
I think that's why it's difficult for stand-ups to do improv,
yeah.
which is all about like as a stand-up. You don't have to rely on anyone else, but also that means you don't rely on anyone else.
Yeah,
and so you're used to controlling.
You're
everything.
used to creating your own your own oxygen in the room and modulating it,
as opposed to trusting other as opposed to being a cog.
I think that's what like any great sitcom does is you're lateraling the ball all the day long and passing and and knowing when to give the other person the space.
Did you ever do a sitcom?
Yeah, I did. I always don't even want to say it because I don't want it to ever pop up. But it was. I don't even know how to describe it. I remember doing it and going like right, but when we were about to tape it, going, "This is not funny. There's nothing funny in this." And then the guy going like, "No, it's going to be great. Like, trust me, people are going to laugh." I'm like, "There's nothing. There's not that many funny things in this." And the first line I had, like, it was like. Laughter, like I was like, oh my God, like that was just a clapper joke or something. It was something so sort of pedestrian, and going like, oh my God, and they laughed throughout the entire taping. And
so I assume you broke the scene and told everyone they were fucking lying.
Yeah, I was like,
you
stop laughing!
No,
I just couldn't believe people were laughing at it and laughing that hard and going, wow, this is. an alternate. And I remember seeing the cut together thing of it and going like, this is like watching like German abstract expressionism on film on a 4-camera set. It just didn't make any sense to me. I felt out of place doing it. I didn't like it.
Wasn't a fan. Weren't a fan.
Wasn't a fan of myself.
How much of your year does The Leftovers take up?
6 months.
Oh, that's not bad.
It's not terrible. No,
it's not bad at
I
all.
got 6 months left over. Thank you.
Oh my God, Matt!
This guy won't give me a break.
See you at the brain from December 28th.
Yeah, so 6 months is plenty of time to start writing other stuff. I have a lot of time to fill writing, and it's actually kind of a perfect balance. Like you get some good acting time in, and you get some good writing time in, and it's a good way to divide or at least for me, divide my time.
Do you have to? I'm asking this for myself. How do you find? Like, do you have to create couple time? Like, do you have to create like, hey, we really just need to create time to just be together and not, when two people have crazy schedules.
Yeah, for sure. But it doesn't feel like it's it just takes more planning because you have to go like, okay, and when you're doing a TV schedule, sometimes they don't have the week in front of them or the month or whatever. So if you find a window of 4 days, you're like, all right, I got to just jump on a plane and go, or she has to jump on a plane and go, or So when you find those little moments, you have to just capitalize on them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am asking because I'm trying to figure it out.
I'm trying to figure it out. I don't know. I mean, I think it's, and you also, I mean, fortunately, Leftovers ensemble, so I would have little bursts of time off. When they're doing those sort of specialty episodes, or for example, I'll have 5 days off or a week off, and then writing is my own schedule. So which is also a curse. I know, but I'm pretty disciplined about
you write during the day, in the morning, or at night.
Day, like I have to write in the morning. I start around 10, and it's a pretty short day usually, and then in the morning again I rewrite, and then go away.
That's good. That's good disciplined business. I feel like it's hard to write late at night.
I'm a night writer.
Really?
Oh my God. Yes. I'm the night rider. Isn't that a Mad Max quote?
Instead of a car, you're talking cars.
Night Industries 2000.
I'm just eating chips at 2 o'clock in the morning.
All right, at night.
I'm imagining the guy from Mad Max is like, I'm the night rider!
That's me.
Here I come!
That's
me. Woo! On the rubber road!
I'm the bouncy guitar guy.
You like that sort of weird, eerie quiet in the middle of the...
I do it when my wife is in town. I write at night. When she's gone, I get the house to myself and I write during the day. It's weird. I'll spend time with her when she gets home from work, and then I usually will put her to bed, and I'll be like...
So you're alone basically all day.
It's
also, your wife is 12.
I'll put her to bed.
I'm going to read you a story.
Exactly. I'm going to read you some of my jokes.
No, but it's like sometimes I don't
right
even, take my shoes off. I just go and we chit chat, and then good night, and then I head over to my office. And
I'll do that sometimes if you have a good idea or something. You're like, oh, that's
I don't really... that element I don't have.
I don't worry about that. No. Usually it's just a big white wall up in my head. Occasionally I scribble on that wall.
Come on, Final Draft 9. Give me a template.
Yeah, when will Final Draft just write these damn things?
Got a lot of dicks on that wall.
I did stumble upon last night. I literally stumbled upon Final Draft's name database. Have you stumbled upon?
Oh
that?
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah,
it's hilarious. Like if
get them to read your
are
jokes.
You
sometime.
So I have that's hilarious.
Like the
too.
worst like that. Really
oh
just
God, you can give it a female
comedy.
voice or male voice.
It'll read your it'll read your
sort
of Stephen Hawking style.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Really hitting those beats
really
the way you want to.
Punches it up.
But it's just like, to me, it's hilarious that you're so hard up to come up with a fucking name that you need a database of 90,000 names.
I guess I'm going to go with John.
Again.
Well, everyone in the script has a different letter. That way you can type real quick.
Oh my God. Yeah. Oh, because you're just
I usually go nationality, and then I'll be like, oh yeah, well, this is a Russian character. And then you look up just on the internet Russian names, and then you just Ivan Ivanovich, whatever it is, and you go through and pick one out and mix and match.
Is that how Iron Man 2 happened?
That's how we got Whiplash. Literally, shake cats out of the bag. The non-disclosure agreement is no longer in effect.
Shit.
Exactly.
I hope that expired. Those expire, right? The NDA's expire at a certain point. You can say whatever you want.
That's how I got Iron Man. It's like the guy's made of iron. He's a man. I guess it should just be Iron Man. I don't know.
Originally, he was Iron Man.
Exactly. After Stan Lee was pitching it in the room, and they're like, we got to come up with a better name.
Jack, I want you to drive a man made of iron. He's a man, Iron Man man.
Iron Man.
I don't know, Stan.
It has to be Iron Man.
Iron Man.
Stan, you're hurting me. Like
You said that about Spider-Man, man. Spider-Man man was the same thing, too. Remember we had this fight before? Same thing with Batman, man.
I would watch a series of sketches of Stan Lee and Jack Kirby.
Fighting it out.
Be amazing.
Just fighting over the names.
Yeah, and him stealing credit for everything.
I would watch that.
Excelsior.
As we're sort of wrapping this up, we're in an hour. Oh my God, Justin Theroux, this is just
so much to
whizzed
talk
by.
about. I don't like it.
Do you think it's important to not talk about work in a relationship, or do you think it's important to talk about everything in a relationship?
I'm really helping you out.
Boy, he is really like asking for tips.
Do you know why? Do you know why? Because I'm getting married next year, in like 9 months. And so I've been hitting up all of my friends or people that I meet that are, relatively, basically all lengths of relationship. Mm-hmm. And I'm just asking questions because I'm genuinely
curious. What does your wife do? Is she in the biz?
She is in the biz as well. And
I don't know. I think there has to be a healthy interest in other things. It's like if you work at a coal mine all day, you don't sit there and talk about, like coal, when you get home. So I think there's, when it comes to like, this is what's happening in my life and this is what I'm excited about this project or that, running things by and checking in and getting their opinion is, I think, incredibly valuable. But I think you have to have other interests outside of just your work, because if you're only communicating on work, you'll start to, want to kill yourself.
It can be very hard to do, though, because I think as humans, we just basically deal with whatever is right in front of us all the time. And so when you're doing that all the time, like, how do you step outside?
Well, I guess it's also the relationships of the people you're working with and going like, and this at the office kind of stuff. But I think it's also just healthy to talk about politics or whatever, the other stuff that matters more, sometimes, like in the world. I don't know.
What if it just turned out she was a staunch Ben Carson supporter? And I had
Exactly.
Justin said to talk about politics and it totally tore us apart. She liked that painting in his house. She thought it really captured his essence.
It does.
You're talking about the Jesus painting?
The Jesus painting and the oil portrait of himself is also fantastic.
Oh, he is fantastic.
The Jesus painting?
Was that a live challenge today? Should have been.
It was, where we referenced how they just went on their spa retreat together. Jesus, and that was the picture. I don't remember it was a live challenge. It was on the show for sure today, though. Yeah, it is. There haven't been any problems yet at all, which is amazing. But I'm just trying to plan. I'm trying to figure out how to.
I think don't plan.
The good ones.
Shoot
the good
from the
ones.
hip.
Chris, there aren't problems in the good ones.
Shoot
good
from
ones
the hip
are
and
sort
shoot
of
from the mouth and shoot from the heart.
No, I know, but but it is important. I feel like it is important. Like you do. I think at a certain point in a relationship, if you've been together for a long time, you do start to get a little lazy because you're just used to. Yeah. And it does. And I believe that it does take. You have to put the time and care into a relationship.
I will say this, for me at least, and I'm speaking only for myself, be aware of how much you're complaining. Because if you're complaining, look, we all have pretty blessed lives. If you find yourself coming and just using her as a sounding board for complaints, that gets real old real quick.
That's probably one of the most valuable pieces of information, because I know I have been in relationships in the past where I did do that, but I didn't realize it till after. I was like, I was just...
I was doing that literally last night, and then I stopped myself and I said, I just want to say I'm sorry for just laying all my frustrations on you with my day. And
then she's like, that's okay, because I have complaints too. I'm married to this really annoying guy who won't shut up about his dumb problem.
All right, that's old business. I'm asking for new business at this meeting.
A friend of mine was once having an argument with his wife, and she was complaining about something. And he was like, oh, God, like, this has got to stop, and blah, blah, blah. And she looked at him and she goes, all right, look, you know what? You can be like this, but I just really need a friend right now. Can you just talk to me like I'm a friend? And he goes, okay, my wife is driving me fucking crazy right now. One of my all-time favorite real retort. Yes, they did laugh at that.
They have a good laugh.
Is your friend Tony Soprano?
You just talk to me like a friend.
Yep, his friend's with the fake character Tony Soprano.
I know.
Who, as far as we know, is still sitting in that coffee shop.
He whacked her.
Yeah, he's fine.
So Leftovers is when is Leftovers?
It's airing.
I know people probably watching HBO Go, HBO
Sunday
now.
nights, everyone.
It's airing forever. It's airing.
It just got a forever pickup.
I don't know. I think we're on episode 7 now. 6 or 7, yeah.
Excellent.
Just aired.
It was really lovely talking to
Yeah,
you.
nice
Thank you
talking
so much
to you,
for
too.
coming in and chatting.
Thanks for
and
having me.
It's nice to see you're just a person.
Just drinking kombucha.
Just
like
drinking
you do,
kombucha
and
and
chewing Nicorette like a
Chewing
kid.
soup. Do you like it?
Do I like
the Nicorette gum?
Yeah, it's like I'm addicted to it. It's
But I know some people will chew it for years after they need to.
That's me.
Okay.
I'm that people. Yeah, I've been chewing it for 8 years, I think.
No, it's better than smoking.
It's definitely better than smoking.
Unless you're doing that as well.
I don't know.
My heart.
My heart. Yeah, no, I've been chewing it for a long time. At least, I think 8 years. But not a puff of a cigarette.
Good for you.
Fantastic.
Well, thanks, guys.
Congratulations. When are you going to quit your fucking clove smoking?
Oh, my
Someday.
God.
Someday. I go through spurts of trying.
You're like an 8th grade goth.
I sure am. See you at the Cure at the Palladium.
Exactly.
Me at the Hot Topic?
It's I stop a lot for weeks, months, sometimes 6 months was my longest recently, and then whenever it's a stress reaction for me, and it just turns into it's either I'm doing that or I'd be shoving large sandwiches into my mouth. Like I'm talking Cliff Huxtable sandwiches.
Dagwoods.
Can I even reference that anymore? Is it okay?
don't know. I don't know.
No, absolutely not. No.
No, wait.
Guys,
Cliff was fine.
Cliff was great.
Cliff was great.
Yeah.
Good dad, great doctor.
Yeah.
The
it
lights
is
dimmed
weird
on
that
set, and he walked to his dressing room. That it became really dark.
But
the
before that,
I just hope he took the sweater off.
Yeah, it's fine. The sweater was.
Worst guy.
But thank you so much for being here.
Thanks
Justin
for having
Theroux.
me. This has been a lot of fun.
You're listening to Enjoy Your Burrito, everyone. I don't know.
Is that your sign off?
That's how we sign off. Yeah, we sign off. Tell everyone to enjoy
That's
the
a
burrito.
weird voice. You never used that before.
What are you talking about? I tell you this all the time. It's my real
That's
voice.
how we
It's my real voice, and I need you to accept me as who I really am.
It would be terrifying. That'd be terrifying.
Hard to
Every
figure,
time
right?
we stopped recording, you started talking like that.
It's like
can't figure it anymore.
What was that great SCTV thing? Where it's like, we got such a long way to... It's a recording
yeah.
one.
Yeah, where he
Take
runs
it to the border. He's
Yeah.
in the recording studio.
Is it
doing
the Christopher Cross? Where
It's a Christopher
Rick
Cross.
Moranis runs
and they're
in?
like, we got it. That was great. We
Yeah.
put it on wax. And then he's like, thanks, guys. See you later.
Such a long way to go. Yeah. One of the genius.
Take it to the border of Mexico.
He gets out of his car and he's got to run back.
Yeah, exactly.
Do it
I just
again.
love at the end. Thanks, guys. See you later. He speaks like he sings.
Maybe that's how we'll start a new. Thanks, guys. See you later.
Kids have a lot of homework. Go watch SCTV and Ben Stiller show.
Yeah. And
You
Strangers
fucking
with
should
Candy.
if you appreciate comedy at
appreciate
all.
comedy.
You need to see where the shit comes from.
The
You need to
dearth
watch
of kids who don't know Strangers with Candy is one of the biggest heartbreaks.
Is one of the greatest half-hour shows that has ever
The best-
existed.
I think it's the best thing.
It's got the people you love in it. It's got your Stephen Colbert in there. If
Yeah.
you like Colbert,
It's got Paul Danello, Amy
Yep.
Sedaris. I mean, literally some of the funniest people on the
You
planet.
did a Strangers with Candy. Didn't you?
I did a small part in the movie because I was such a nerd for the show, and actually ended up becoming friends with Amy and Paul a little bit. Yeah, but I used to watch that show just
Joffrey.
yeah. I mean, it was so freaking funny.
Love that show.
So that's your homework.
We could do another
I gotta
hour.
rewatch
Strangers
that
with Candy.
show. I gotta
That's
rewatch it.
if you watch all of Strangers with Candy, you've gotten a complete PhD in how to do comedy.
Yep.
And Tropic Thunder Netflix miniseries.
Yep, that's happening.
Make it happen.
I'll try.
All right.
Now leaving Nerdist.com. Enjoy your burrito.